Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review Final Destination. Death doesn't take no for an answer.
Directed by James Wong and starring Devon Sawa, Larter, and Kerr Smith, Final Destination is about a group of students who avoid an accident on a plane and now death is coming to take them.
This movie has been out for a long time, so beware, we are going to talk a little bit about spoilers. We're not going to get into the very final scenes of the film, but we will talk about some of the deaths throughout it.
What do we like about this movie?
I like the whole idea of this film, that death is inevitable and it's coming for you, and you need to try and figure out a way to avoid death.
Even though it's kind of a hard concept to believe, it actually didn't feel unbelievable in the film. Like, I bought into it, and I know that's kind of ridiculous to say, but you don't ever question the premise throughout the movie.
And it also helps that we had strong acting, Devon Sawa being like a very big deal at the time. This guy was on every teen magazine. Larter was huge. And we also had Seann William Scott and Kerr Smith, of course. There's just a lot of great teen talent here.
Very early on in the movie, we get a plane crash. And the explosion, the deaths in that scene in of itself was pretty cool. But then later on you go back and each individual person is almost getting killed or getting killed. And we have some very cool deaths. I think one of my favorite ones is the shower one. So the line goes around his neck, he's choking. It's a great setup because it's all these things falling into line for him to actually die. And then on top of that, it looks like he killed himself. So I think it was just a well done scene, a well done kill altogether.
Final Destination, not only this film, but the rest of the franchise rely on these Rube Goldberg situations where it's like, something hits this thing to do that thing that falls and ends up cutting a guy's head off. And one of the best examples of this is one of my all-time favorite kills, which is Miss Luton's death. And it's just great to see all of these things unfold and ultimately lead to one of the best looking women in this movie dying, unfortunately. What helps with all of these kills is the cinematography. I really enjoyed the close-up shots. They have extreme close-ups of multiple objects in a room before a death happens. And some of them come into play with the death and some of them don't. And it lets the audience kind of guess how everything can piece together to create a kill before it even happens. I feel like Devon Sawa in that same situation, like, oh my God, I can see how this is all gonna unfold. I gotta warn somebody, and I'm yelling at the screen, and I can't do anything about it because their death is inevitable.
What really adds to this movie, like Jay said, is your sense of wonder and the suspense that's being built. The rule is these people are gonna die. You're expecting it, and you're looking at every little thing on the screen. And you get that release, you're just like, oh, that's how it's happened. It makes for an interesting, fun watch.
And what's great is the payoff is better than what you're going to expect.
Exactly.
In every situation, there's more blood, there's more involved, and it's just fucking fantastic as a horror fan. And you know, this spawned a number of sequels based on this concept alone, and I'm so thankful for it because this series has some of the best deaths in any horror movie ever.
What didn't we like about this movie?
Well, I did appreciate the acting, and I thought everybody involved did a pretty decent job. I do think some of the choices maybe in the editing room or the directorial choices were a little bit odd, especially towards the beginning of the film where we have Devon Sawa, Alex, our main lead, who's walking around curious and looking around suspiciously at everything. And it's so obnoxious. And he's like the most paranoid guy.
I completely agree. You killed the suspense by adding too much to it. Just at the very beginning, she tears a piece of paper off his luggage. And they do a slow-mo paper drop. And then they continue doing it for different aspects. And at this point, it doesn't feel like, will something happen? Now it feels like, okay, when is this going to happen? It defeats the whole purpose of suspense and intrigue because you're just doing it for every random thing.
And unfortunately, that starts with a very long intro scene. If we're gonna see all of those shots later on, don't show them in the intro for 10 minutes. Move on.
One of the things I didn't like about this is you have your stereotypes. You got your jock and hot girlfriend, you got the weird girl. I think it was played up a little too much. Seann William Scott comes off as overly goofy. The jock is just too aggressive for its own good. Back in our days of the 90s, early 2000s, I think those stereotypes kind of played. But now, looking back when you see the movie, you want more subtlety in roles and more meshing in gray areas.
And like, considering these different stereotypes, the movie is fairly serious. They do have these small little bits with Seann William Scott riding his bike and bumping into people and all this stuff, but none of it seems funny. It is not a lighthearted movie, but it does try to have lighthearted moments that just don't work.
I think it's one of two ways. You go funny, and that would be a great horror, slasher flick, whatever, as well, right? Or you go serious and you add more psychological kind of suspense thriller aspects to it, where, the essence of death is really fucking with their heads, and it can be extremely scary and still have cool kills. But we get kind of a middle ground here, so it doesn't feel like it's firmly rooted in one of those two things. It's time for our final thoughts and ratings.
Final Destination is a great time. It's a great guessing game, especially if you're watching it with friends, because you're trying to figure out how everybody is going to die throughout the film. Unfortunately, they do settle on some slow-mo shots of random objects for a long time, but all of that is nullified once they actually deliver on each kill. I thought the acting was strong, and I really did love the cinematography. But the reason why this film is so great is the whole concept. So I'm gonna give this 4 unnecessary toilet shots out of 5.
Final Destination was a lot of fun. It was a movie that introduced a premise that I've never seen before, and I really enjoyed it. It created suspense in of itself. It had these fun kills. I think it was played a little too straight maybe, but because it was the first in the series, I think it was just really finding itself. I enjoy it. There's some very cool 90s feels to this movie. I think this movie was actually something that you would enjoy watching today. So I'm gonna give it 3.5 weird head on a spring sculptures out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on Final Destination. If you haven't seen it, links are in the description where you can find it, but I highly recommend it. We highly recommend it, and there's a ton of sequels and you gotta watch them. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because we do a bunch of horror movie reviews here. So subscribe, click that button.